everyone, I'm Devin Alexander, chef on The Biggest Loser. When people hear that, they think, oh great, this girl's gonna make me eat lots of plain broccoli. It's not the case at all. In fact, it's the opposite. Unlike a lot of those tofu and carrot stick chefs, I'm all about making sure you have a really rich experience, making sure the food tastes nice and decadent. Now yes, you wanna eat your asparagus on the side sometimes, but that doesn't mean you have to completely put spinach in everything you ever eat. Today, we're making my Better Than Classic stuffed shells. You'll see how I combine an array of cheese to make them super delicious and decadent, so much so that you'll never know that they're lower in calories. So let's get chefed. We're gonna start by preheating our oven to 350 degrees, and then filling a pot of water to boil our pasta. Okay, then turn your heat to high, and next we're gonna chop garlic. Now there's so many different ways to do this, and there's a lot of great tools out there. So if you wanna cut corners, you can always get one of those, or we can do it the old-fashioned way. Just make sure you cut this little brown bit off the one end, and then I like to smash it with my knife. Gives you a head start, you don't have to do as much chopping, and then just chop away. Now, one of the really important things is that you make sure you have a good cutting board and plenty of room. I've seen people try to do this on teeny tiny boards and you'll never get anywhere. Okay, do a little more on this. You want this to be pretty fine. You don't want big hunks of garlic and things. I'm Italian and can eat garlic every single meal, but not if you bite into a big piece. That's never good. All right, so let's move on to our shallots. Now you'll see here, this one is pretty flat, so we're in good shape. But if it's not, you might want to cut it in half. You want a good surface on your board. Next, you want to place your hand so that you keep the shallot really stable and don't cut into your hand. Don't do this. See how my hand is arched like this? So pull back, and then you just want to do a couple quick cuts. Again, the knife is far from my hand in this way. And then we'll do some cuts this way, really thin cuts. So again, you want these pieces nice and small. And I don't know if you know, but onions are one of those things that you do not want to put in a food processor. You'll make them more bitter if you do. Garlic's fine and so many other ingredients, but not onions. Okay, there you go. Get toward the end of here. Okay, and then I'll turn it to keep it safe. And it's looking pretty good. And next we move on to the parsley. Okay, now make sure all of your produce was washed. I washed this parsley earlier as well as my asparagus. And then you also want it really dry. If it's not dry when you start to cut it, kind of sticks together and it might not get well distributed in your dish. And you can leave a little stem on parsley. It's not offensive. It's a little more coarse. For a dish like this, you want to just mostly use the leaves. Okay. And again, you want this pretty small. Couple chops there. And then I realized I didn't cut my second piece of shallot, so I'll go ahead and do that now. The cool thing about this dish is it's really easy. If you do something out of order, really not that big a deal. Okay, again, a couple rough cuts here. This one's a little smaller, so we have to be really careful. Okay, there you go. Some cuts this way. There you go. Nice, tiny little chop. And there you have it. Next, we're gonna marinate our asparagus. Now, I always say that it's really important that you eat your vegetables, but that doesn't mean they have to be in the shells. Like if there's a vegetable in every dish, doesn't it get bland? So here, you know this trick? Just snap the stems where they naturally break toward the end. Really easy. And again, you wanna make sure this is washed. Couple at a time, and I'm going to start transferring this to my baking sheet. I've lined this with foil. That's a good way to cut down on your cleanup. I love cooking, but I'm not one who loves dishes so much. So this way, throw that away and poof, dishes are done. All right, a couple more. Now next, get your little container of balsamic, and you just want to pour half of this over your asparagus. Tiny bit of olive oil. touch of salt, and a little bit of pepper. And then just toss them together. You can use tongs or make it fun. You know, I'm all about cooking with my hands. It's just, cooking is supposed to be play. It's supposed to be easy and fun. And if you get a little messy, well, I think it makes it more fun. Okay, we're gonna let those marinate for a bit, and we're gonna move on to making our sauce as soon as I wash my hands again. So let's make our marinara sauce. We're gonna start by heating our pan to medium heat and adding a 1/4 teaspoon of olive oil. Now you don't have to be really precise about this. I'm always counting calories and I'm not really looking for flavor here. So just a 1/4 teaspoon is good. But again, if you want to add a tiny bit more, do what you want. Okay, swish that around a little bit. And again, we're gonna keep this on medium heat because you don't want your shallots and garlic to actually brown. You just wanna sweat them a little bit. And that'll take about 5 minutes. Don't rush that. Don't get impatient and turn the heat up. Again, the flavor here is not to have them browned. Sometimes if you're making something like fajitas, you'd want to do that. But here in stuffed shells, not so much. Okay. We'll let that go for 5 minutes. So the garlic and onions are looking perfect and the whole place is smelling amazing. I swear, all you have to do is saute a little onions and garlic and everyone will think you're a master chef. So moving on to the next step of our marinara sauce, add your tomatoes. Ooh, that's a little high there. If your pan's a little hot like that and it sizzles, you might want to turn it down just a touch. Okay, now our fun pre-packet little portioned ingredients. We're gonna do a little oregano. That in there. Love the smell of that too. A little bit of sugar. This will sweeten it up a little bit. Sometimes if you're diabetic or you're watching your sugar, you can always wait till the end and see if you want this extra sweet, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw it in now. And then I put in some crushed red pepper flakes. Gives it a nice teeny tiny little kick. Not too many as you see, but just a little bit. These are those flakes that you always put on pizza. I'm sure you've seen them in pizza parlors. Okay, there you go. Okay, now we're gonna add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Again, you can wait till the end and salt to taste, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it now. There you go, and then you just stir this. Turn the heat to a low simmer, cover the pan, and just stir occasionally over the next 30 minutes while that cooks. All right, now we're gonna move on to stuffing our shells. Now it's time to make the shells. So our water's boiling. We're gonna season that with a little bit of salt, and then we're gonna add our shells. Now we sent you 8 shells, so cook those all, and then you can pick the 6 prettiest and use the other 2 for something else. You wanna stir these when they get in here, very gently. You either wanna use a wooden spoon or a paddle like this. You don't wanna do anything too harsh because you don't want them to break. We'll put our parsley in this bowl and then get rid of some of this junk here. All right. Now I'm gonna start with my fat-free ricotta. Now I don't use a lot of fat-free ingredients. I think they have a lot of chemicals often and they're just not as tasty. But in the case of ricotta, there are natural ones, so I use that, and you will too. And then we're going to add our mozzarella. Now this is a light mozzarella, low fat, it's 3 grams of fat. I sometimes shred this finely because it might melt better, but this one works really well. And then we're going to add a tablespoon of our Parmesan. That's about 2/3 of this package. You can either measure it out or you can just ballpark it like I'm gonna do. It won't really matter if you go a little astray on this. You just want to keep a little bit for your garnish at the end. And then more garlic because, well, I said I'm Italian and that's what we do. All right, garlic in there. I just love these little packets. All right, and then we're gonna season it with a little bit of salt and pepper. Little touch. And then our egg. Now there are a million different ways to crack the egg. I'm gonna do one of the traditional ways today. And do the back and forth. Shoot, I didn't do the back and forth. Or I'll do the old grab out the egg yolk trick. Again, make sure your hands are clean, which I'm sure they are by now. But literally just separate it like so. Now you'll notice that I got a tiny bit of yolk in there. Not a big deal at all. It happens, especially if the egg's been sitting out for a while. I find when the eggs are nice and cold, the yolk will just pull right out. Now, of course, at this stage, you have to wash your hands. Then just add your egg white to the bowl and stir this up. All right, this is looking great. Let's check on our shells. Now remember, these go for a full 9 minutes. Stir them carefully again, making sure that they're good. Oh, that's pretty close to done. Be careful that you don't break that. And then we'll give our sauce a stir. Oh my God, doesn't this smell amazing? I'm so excited. Okay, let's get this ready to do our stuffing, get some of this stuff out of our way. And I think our pasta's probably done by now. So let's get that drained. Turn off the heat always first. And this, drain it into your strainer. Okay, give that a couple of shakes. Now it's always best not to run your pasta under cold water because you take away a little of the flavor. Let's move this and then just transfer them to your board. Make sure you don't burn your fingers there. And then we're going to pick the 6 prettiest shells. As we said, we gave you a couple extra, so when guys come out like this, no need to worry. Okay, these 6 look pretty good. And we're ready to start stuffing. Now, obviously, you're gonna put 1/6 of the mixture in each. A little bit there. Spoon that in. So excited. Isn't this fun? This is a great way, too, to get your kids involved in the kitchen. If you have kids, just bring them in, let them do stuffing and things, as long as your shells are cool enough. I really think that one of the best ways to keep your family healthy is to make sure that you do spend a lot of time cooking, and to teach a child at a young age how to do a fun project like this really sets them up for a lifetime of feeling comfortable and great in the kitchen. Okay. Why is it that one always breaks? Isn't that crazy? The other good thing is find the one that breaks if you want to taste it. You know, I can now judge about when they're going to be done, but if you're not sure, just look for a broken one and try that one. Take a little bite of it, because you certainly, as I said, do not want to overcook these. All right. Now, I purposefully left a little bit of extra cheese in case I didn't stuff one as much as the others, although you'll notice that these are pretty nice and stuffed. You want them to be nice and cheesy. There we go. Right, get this bowl out of the way. Okay, it's looking about done. So now, as you know, it's always important to give it a taste. So grab a spoon. I like my teeny tiny little ones here. Great, right? If you didn't put all the sugar or salt in, this would be the time to do that. Make it so that it's perfectly seasoned the way you like it. And then we're just gonna put 1/2 cup of sauce in our dish. Now, get a baking dish, if you can, that's round. You obviously can use any shape that fits them, but I love to use a round one. You can make the shells look really elegant, as you'll see in a minute. So let's just put 1/2 cup of sauce here, and we're gonna turn off our pan at this point. Okay, just use 1/2 cup. Again, just ballpark this. The rest of the sauce will go on top of the shells, but you just want a nice layer on the bottom so they don't dry out. It's looking about right. Yum. Okay, now we're gonna put our shells in, all pointing toward the center. I love, it's okay if these goo out a little bit, you know, that's kind of the fun of it. Put them in there, all nice and snug. So much fun. Okay, now I'm gonna get a different spoon for the sauce so I can really control what it's doing here. Now, you obviously don't want to just dump all the salsa on the top. That's not going to make it look pretty. You know how when you go to restaurants, they always just sort of put it over the middle section? So that's what you want to do here if you're creating art like I am right now. Join me in doing that. Over the top. Very precise. There we go. All right, a little bit more for these. Look how fresh that is. Yum, I can't wait for dinner. Okay. Can you believe you did this? So easy. All right. Now, if you have a little bit of extra sauce and you're worried that they will start getting gopping on, you can always just sneak a little more on this side, not actually on the shells like I'm doing right now. Sneak it in there. All right. One more little spoon here, and I think we're good to go. A little in there, a little in there. You can use a smaller spoon, too, if you want to create even more precision, but this is good. All right. Now we're going to top it with our leftover cheese. We saved the tablespoon, as you remember, or a half tablespoon, I guess it was. How do I do this best? I think I'm going to put it in my hand like so. Just get more control with your fingertips. There you go. Sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. Play artist. You know, I'm terrible at every art but food. God, if I try to draw anything, it's like a disaster. All right. There we go. Little sprinkle, sprinkle. And that's about done. That's looking good. Now we're just going to cover it with foil. If you have it, use nonstick foil because you want to make sure you eat all the cheese, not that it's stuck to the foil. But either way, it'll be fine. Cover your dish. And then put it in your 350-degree oven. So we're just going to pop this in for 20 to 25 minutes. You just want the cheese to be nice and gooey and melted, and then you know it's done. We have about 15 minutes until the asparagus needs to go in the oven so that they're both done perfectly at the same time. One of the things that I like to do is clean while things are cooking, or, you know, grab a glass of wine and kick back. When I'm cleaning up, I like to take the extra shells and put them in one of the bags that the cheese came in, so you have them later for a snack or can use them for another meal. And then I'm going to do the rest of the dishes, and I'll meet you back here to work on the asparagus. We have about 5 minutes left on our shells, so we're going to pop our asparagus in the oven. Now, with these, you want them pretty much in a single layer. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you certainly don't want them all clumped in the middle. You want them to cook about 5 minutes or until they're crisp tender. Oh, perfect. It's looking done. So we're going to pull these out of our oven. The asparagus. Now you want these, as I said, nice and crisp tender. You don't want them all navy green and ugh. And then our shells, which again, as long as your cheese is melty, you know they're done. If you leave them in a couple extra minutes, no problem at all. All right. Now we get these plated up. Now, I love to pair these two dishes. You'll notice you have a nice hearty serving of asparagus. That'll give you plenty of fiber, good antioxidants, and it'll help fill you up since you're having 3 shells. I know the temptation is to eat like 20, right? Especially when they're this good. Okay, now carefully open your foil here. Looks so good. Just tear that open. And then 3 shells per serving. Oh, they're so nice and full. It's a little tough even. Okay, there we go. You could always garnish your plate. And a 3rd one. Look at this. Isn't it a great portion? You never think healthy food and you get to eat this much. Throw a little more sauce on the back there. You want it nice and ooey gooey. There you go. And now, if you'd like, you can finish it off with your extra balsamic. If you like that strong balsamic taste, which I do. Otherwise, you can just skip it because they're nicely roasted. A little drizzle here. 0 calories, you can't go wrong if you want that extra burst of flavor. And that's it. Check out your masterpiece. How fun was this? Thank you so much for cooking with me. I hope you truly enjoyed this experience. Congratulations, you've been chefed.